Hello everyone, I'm Sebastien Dupuis. I'm a classical pianist, concert pianist and piano teacher in Zurich. This video will be about a little trip I made in Budapest some weekends ago. I went to visit the Edison Musica Budapest, the one that edited all Liszt piano works for the moment. And actually I was also on the trace of Liszt because Liszt lived in Budapest the last years, I think between 60 and 86 until he died. So he was basically mostly traveling all the time between living in Weimar in the summer when it was hot, because there was less hot. In the winter, when he wanted to have more heat, he lived in Rome, in Vatican, because he was friends with the Pope. And he had also an apartment on the top floor of the Conservatoire of Budapest that was just opening at that time, and he was a honorary director of the Budapest Conservatory. So he was teaching there, giving piano lessons in his apartment. I think he had like there 2 or 3 pianos. So I visited all the stuff in Budapest, and that's what I want to show you now. So first thing we visited, we went to the opera, which is on one of the main streets, and we entered there and just watched the ceilings. They're very nice. So then we went to Liszt Street, Liszt Corner, Ferenc Liszt, and they have this very famous statue of Liszt, a bit a modern one, with on the right and the left the Liszt bar. A bit further on the street you have the Liszt Conservatory with his, again, big statue of Liszt. As you can see there, it was a bit more rusty. Yeah, close up. Next day we went to the thermal bath, so that's where you can swim. It's a very famous place in Budapest, and they also had a very nice ceilings apparently. Then we were invited to a little church when Liszt played organ. It's written there on the thing, Liszt played organ there, and I tried the organ, of course. This is the organ Liszt used to play for a while in Budapest. But very nice to let us try this organ. Played some things of coaches of Liszt. I tried to play this on organ. Of course, as a pianist, I'm not really used to keep the tones like you should do on an organ. But it was nice to have some idea of where Liszt played and which note he was pressing, which key he was touching. Then the next day we were just having some, I think, dinner or lunch. No, it was a dinner. Actually, it was the same evening, dinner in Budapest. And this reminds me, then there were just some gypsy playing, not gypsies, like some musicians playing gypsy music. And this reminds me of another of my favorite musician, which is Georgi Sifra, a Hungarian pianist who plays a lot of Liszt, who plays Liszt like better than anyone. And I remember his beginning of career, like when he was living in Budapest, he played also very often in bars, improvising on gypsy music or improvising some Hungarian. No, he was playing the Hungarian Rhapsody, Hungarian dances of Brahms. There is even another Hungarian pianist, I forgot who said he heard once a pianist in a bar and he thought there were like 2 pianists playing, and then he went looking and it was actually Sifra playing alone. So I really love this music, and they played actually a Hungarian dance of Brahms too for me. And then next day, so last day we spent in Budapest, we went to the Edison Musica Budapest, where I did a small video too, like watch it on YouTube if you missed it. They explain a bit more how they do. That's actually the reason why I went to Budapest. It's to see how they print all this music and to meet the people who do the work. So I filmed a bit also there, inside of the warehouse.
Yes.
Okay, every volume is here.
Every published one. And the soft cover volumes are stored on these shelves.
And on the other side.
You need this. Okay, so one softcover volume from the new Liszt Critical Edition with this gray cover.
And then before leaving, because we had the plane in the evening, leaving Budapest, I had a quick look at the Liszt Museum. So that's basically the apartment he had in Budapest, in the front of on the top of the conservatory. They transferred in a new apartment a bit further. They kept more or less, I think, the same thing he had inside it, and the same, probably there are more paintings and souvenirs of Liszt that I was not there when he was living. But I think he had the two Schickering there, and there is a Bösendorfer too. And that's where he gave lessons too when he was then in Budapest. There is his bed there. You can see one of his a copy of his hand, which actually made me see that Liszt's hands was not much bigger than mine, or just a bit. For me, I always wonder how big Liszt's hand, so this gave me an idea. There's also a sculpture of Liszt's hand, and this, since it's a sculpture, it's probably a bit bigger than natural. The other one is like a plaster copy. Yeah, so interesting place too to see the pianos of Liszt. He has, of course, he had tons of piano. Unfortunately, I was not allowed to play on the pianos. I asked them, but they were a bit stiff on this. They were a bit conservative. They said the piano had to be restored and could not be played, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, pity. Otherwise, it would have been interesting to play on the pianos. It's very small, the museum. I'm not sure if it's interesting for everyone. I was a bit curious to see 2-3 things. So we went very quickly and then we left. So that was it, short video about Budapest. I hope you enjoyed it. It was funny, by the way, to see that everywhere there was Liszt. Like there were statues of Liszt. I didn't show them all, but there were statues of Liszt. There's one at the opera. I have a picture where I'm next to Liszt statue at the opera. There was another corner where there was one also. Then the church that we visited where Liszt played, behind was a school called Ferenc Liszt School. There were Liszt corners, Liszt streets, like he's really a super. Actually, the airport is Franz Liszt Airport, and it's also funny if you think about. You can go from Franz Liszt Airport to Frédéric Chopin Airport in Warsaw. You can make like a kind of pilgrimage. So it was interesting to see all these Liszt memories everywhere. Yeah, pity of the museum that I could not play on the pianos. I will probably play on Liszt Bechstein in Weimar very soon, and we'll make a short video about this too. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed it. See you next video, maybe playing some more Liszt or talking about some more Liszt. Why not?